When we say, why don't people know? It's very simple. It's because of the noise. It's because we're not being told about it. And just because we aren't being told about something does not mean that that something does not work. The question should become, why weren't we told about this? Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. All right, you guys, here's my new thing. Sharing is caring. So if you want to share this, that would be fantastic. So today, let's talk about why haven't people heard about this? And when we do that, I want to just share my little story with you in case you haven't heard it yet, because I felt the exact same way. This isn't true. I've never heard about it before. Everybody I talked to hasn't heard about it. And so when I was introduced to the infinite banking concept, it was by somebody local to me. They were atrocious at explaining it. They wouldn't even use the words life insurance. They were drawing stuff on a screen. It absolutely didn't make sense to me. And they were just beating around the bush. I left with Nelson's book and I was like, this is crazy. How can this be real? Then I went to the state insurance website and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a real thing. How can I have not heard of this? Is this really 200 years old? No way. That's a lie. So then I had to look at insurance companies and how old are they and how long have we had insurance around, right? And now, as I'm getting further into this, you guys have heard me say a million times, the infinite banking concept is not life insurance. The infinite banking concept is a thought process around money. In that thought process, we want to own the bank. We want to have our money where it is safe, where it is liquid, where we have control of it. And guess what? That happens to be life insurance, which is the tool so we can implement the concept. So when we look at the tool, when we remove the tool from the concept and we say, well, how come we have not heard about whole life insurance? How come we don't know what this whole life insurance stuff can do? It is because we have noise out there. We have people telling us that the stock market is the best place to put money. I talked to somebody yesterday at the time of this recording, and they were putting like $1,500 a month away into their 401k or their IRAs. They're self-employed, so into their IRAs. And that is what their financial advisor told them to do because that's what financial advisors do, right? That is what society says. Put your money into your retirement. She is literally stressed out about money because we have a thought process. That's the infinite banking concept. We have this thought process around money. I call it financial PTSD. So I was just listening to a podcast this morning of some guy that has several multi-million, $10 million, $5 million companies. And he still has financial PTSD. He did not use those words. I want to email him and say, hey, dude, you have financial PTSD from the days where he would run his credit card at a restaurant and it wouldn't go through, right? And so that exists with people. This potential client that I talked to yesterday, she has this level of anxiety of, oh my gosh, I have to pay taxes. I've been short on taxes before. We need to keep track of that. I don't want that to happen again. I need to be debt-free because we're listening to Dave Ramsey or someone of the like. And so now we have all this like financial stress. And so we think that, oh, we need to put as much money into this 401k as humanly possible so we have money for retirement. So let's give up our life today so that we can have this IRA money or this 401k money at retirement. Let's put 12% of our money into our 401k. Let's throw thousands of dollars in that thing a month, but then let's struggle with buying groceries. And then let's struggle with creating a business that can create cash flow. It's just crazy to me because that's the noise. That's what we're being taught, right? When we're in school, they are teaching us that we need to be debt-free. We need to be responsible with money, but we don't need to be debt-free because there's good debt and there's bad debt. We just need to understand debt. We need to understand cash flow. And so when we see somebody on a video talking about the infinite banking concept, we're like, oh yeah, that's too good to be true. That's not going to work. I've talked to 15 family members and they don't know about it. Why? Why don't they know about it? Same reason why we didn't know about it. It was because nobody was there to teach us that. And so, as awful as the people explained it to me when I first heard about it, hey, at least I heard about it. At least I was able to go do my own research and now I'm able to share it, right? And so, if we're looking for something, we're going to find it. It's like saying, hey, I want a new vehicle. I want a green Chevy. Okay, I've never seen a green Chevy before, but that's what I want. Now all of a sudden we see green Chevys everywhere. Or we get that new car and we're like, oh man, I've never seen one like this. This is so awesome. And all of a sudden we see it everywhere. We get a new pair of shoes and all of a sudden we see them everywhere because now we're noticing them. And so once we get around people that are talking about money, that are utilizing money, all of a sudden we're going to find those people. And people are going to start communicating and now all the noise has left, or we shut the noise to those other things off, like the stock market and financial advisors and the Dave Ramseys. We shut that noise off so we can focus on a different path. Why don't people say, oh, what Robert Kiyosaki has to say is new? No, it's not. Buying and selling houses has been around forever. That's not new. We don't question that because everybody buys and sells a house. But guess what? The people that have never looked at it as an investment are going to question, oh, this is just something new. This is just something new that all the young kids are doing. No, it's not. People have lived in apartments forever. You have people that are 80 years old that have owned apartments for 40 years. This is not new. People have done it forever. Oh, Mary Jo, we're homesteading. That's one that I hear a lot. Oh, we're homesteading. No, you're not. You're farming. Like you can call it whatever you want. You can call it something new. But at the end of the day, it's not new. People have been doing it forever. You know, if you live on a farm, you raise some chickens, you have your own eggs, maybe you milk a cow. Like that's what people used to do. It's called farming, not homesteading. People that got the farm passed down to them in the second generation were not homesteading. Homesteading was when they came over here, they turned their wagons over and lived in that wagon so they could homestead that ground. You didn't do that. You bought the ground. You bought it. We have electricity, right? To me, it's not the same thing. We don't need to make it new and exciting. We don't need to make the infinite banking concept new and exciting. We don't need to make life insurance new and exciting. This is not new and exciting. This is old as the hills and it's always been done this way. And so we just need to re-educate people on what used to be. And then we know it works because all we're doing is repeating the history of what works. We're not repeating the history of what doesn't work. We have a tiny bit of history on 401ks. And I mean a tiny bit because they were born in 74 and 80, 74 and 80. 401ks and IRAs. Okay. That's 50 years. We have this tiny little bit of history on the stock market where people are investing in the stock market and retiring through the stock market. And we have 200 years of whole life insurance experience and how that works and paying out death claims and companies saying doing what they say they're going to do. They're paying dividends. This isn't new. Is it exciting? Yes. It's old and exciting because it's renewed, but it's not new. We have to, as Nelson always said, it's noise. It's just noise. We're putting on the news. We're on social media, listening to noise. Okay, you are most likely hearing this on social media as a clip. However, you have to pick through the noise. I'm on social media all the time. I love it. But I have to discern what is actually true and what is false. Who has a narrative that they are trying to push that's not actually honest? Because I don't want misinformation. I want information, but I want the truth of what's happening. I don't want bias. I want the truth of what's happening. When you are reading my book, when you are listening to this podcast, this is the truth of what is happening inside of our life insurance policies. This is the truth of what infinite banking is. Is the infinite banking concept, is the thought process that Nelson wrote about new and exciting? No. People have been talking about thought process for 200 years. You have people like Zig Ziglar, who is long past, gone, and we are still seeing things from Zig Ziglar. We are still seeing things from Carnegie about how we think is what determines what's going to happen. I saw something on the TikTok, and it was a gentleman that did a little fable. He talked about this little fable about these brothers. They all tried to outdo one another. And in the process, one of them started a hospital, one started a clinic, one started a pipeline for water, one started a different store. Like they had started all of these, like they had started like 6 different things. And it was really interesting because in that fable, my brain thought, oh, how awesome. The community needed those things. So while they were in competition to one another, they went out and they saw the things that the community needed, and they went out and started those things. Guess what other people saw? Greed. Oh, they were just trying to outdo one another, and they were just trying to be greedy. Interesting. It's all about how we think. Are we seeing opportunity or are we seeing scarcity? Do we understand? Are we looking at how banking works? If you read the first part of Nelson's book, if you read the first part of my book, it does not go over numbers. It goes over thought process. That's not new. Again, it's exciting, but it's not new. Everybody wants to think this is new because it's new to them. If I buy a home that somebody else built, I am excited, but it's not new. And so let's think about when we come across this concept, I want you to think about, is this really new? When we say, why don't people know? It's very simple. It's because of the noise. It's because we're not being told about it. And just because we aren't being told about something does not mean that that something does not work. The question should become, why weren't we told about this? Instead of, oh yeah, this doesn't work because of blah, blah, blah. Why weren't we being told? Because once you understand how the life insurance piece of it works, then you get angry. And you're like, well, why wasn't I told about this? What are they hiding from me? Why don't the talking heads talk about it? Why don't they even add it in to say, hey, you know what? Here's another option of what you can do with your money. No, they don't even do that. They don't even do that. That is what needs to be questioned. And yet we're not questioning that. We're just saying, okay, well, these people paid for really good marketing, and so they're famous, and so they know better than I do. No, they don't. No, they don't. When people come into meetings and they have meetings with me and they're nervous because they feel like I'm famous, you guys, I'm not famous. I'm just me sitting here in my office doing my thing, but I have a really good marketing team. So you see me everywhere. So you think that I'm famous. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. You do your own research. You shouldn't just be taking advice from me. You should be hearing what I say and then going out and doing your own due diligence, just like I did. Because nobody else is going to control what Mary Jo does with her money except Mary Jo. Right? I'm going to go out, I'm going to do my due diligence, and I'm not even a big, huge researcher, you guys. I don't necessarily love to dive deep into things. I want to get started. I want things to be moving. But I've learned that I cannot believe single thing somebody says if they're only going to tell me half truths. So I need to determine if that person is a half truther or if they tell you everything. Because I hate half truths. Why don't people know about it is a good question. Why aren't they telling us about it? That should be your question. Okay, that's all I got, you guys. That's it. Get rid of the noise. Do some due diligence. This isn't new, it's old. And then schedule your appointment so that we can talk. I am scheduling out until January. So go ahead, get on my calendar, get the book, read it, because you'll have plenty of time to read the book after you're on my calendar. And then we will visit. If you cannot schedule with me, you can schedule with John. If you are not listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast, go over there. Go over there. It's not just about farming. I had a podcast last week with John, who is an agent that works with me that I have trained, that also meets with clients that don't want to wait for me. And so you can meet John. And then this week, I had a really good podcast too. So make sure you're listening to both of these. All right, you guys, you know the routine. Mary Jo at withoutthebank.com, or go to withoutthebank.com and grab my book and grab Nelson's book. And I'll talk to you when you schedule your appointment. You have a fantastic rest of your day.